All right, let's keep going. We're on question 8. We're going to write the list of names in the format last comma first, and then we're going to use text to commas to split them into columns. All right, since our last time, I actually pre-did some of this stuff. So I've got our list of names here, and I've already just copied them so that I don't have to mess with them anymore. I select the columns that I want to do. And I'm going to go to data, I believe it is. Yep, here we go, text to columns. I want to use delimited, not fixed with. Fixed with would just be a certain number of spaces. But I want to use delimited because I'm going to use a comma to split up everything. Next, I'm going to uncheck tab because we don't use tabs to delimit what we're doing. I'm going to use commas so you can see a preview here. And I'm going to just go ahead and finish that. All right, so now I've got a lot of extra spaces. I don't have spaces on this first one, but I do have spaces on this next one. So that's going to bring us to question 9. On your results, on your list from row 8, find a formula that removes spaces before and after the contents of the cell. Well, that formula happens to be trim. Trim is pretty handy. It removes all spaces from a text string except for single spaces between words. So it's even going to get excess spaces inside your string. All right, here we go. So now Olivia, Paul, Bill, and Hillary are all I removed all those spaces. Now, we're going to put it all back together, so we didn't really need to remove the space, but this is just, of course, an exercise. So that was question 9. Question 10, on the results from 8 and 9, combine the names back again in the original format using concatenation. Okay, so if I want to do that and I want to get it all back to where we were again, I'm going to have to put the names together and I'm going to have to add a space. So I'm going to use concatenate, which is just the ampersand. I'm going to say equals the last name, ampersand, which just smushes things together, and I want to add a comma and a space, and I close my quotes off to show that I'm just adding the comma and the space, my ampersand to join it back together to the next thing that I'm pointing to, which is that first name, and I believe that's it. I'm going to copy it down, and here I would just do last, first, not trimmed, first, and combined again. There we go. That was question 10. Question 11. Use VLOOKUP to copy the values from long data to wide data on the right. So I've got that on the right here, but I've already copied that over to here. So if I want to go from long to wide, I'm going to use VLOOKUP. And the key here is going to be your fixed and your relative references. So I'm going to say VLOOKUP, my key is going to be Kenley-1. So I'm going to be looking up Kenley, but I don't want to let the columns move over. So I'm going to lock D. So I'm going to put in my $sign right before the D. Okay. And you notice that I have to have a dash, so I'm going to use some concatenation and add a dash in there. And then I'm going to also join it to this 1, and we know that the row, we don't want the row to move when we copy this over, so I'm going to put an $sign, excuse me, in front of the row so that I lock the row in. So now I've made a key that's Kenley-1 for this particular cell, and if I were to go down, it would be Josh-1. Over would be Kenley-2, or then down and over would be Josh-2. So that's my key that I'm looking up. I can, of course, look it up in this table right here, handy dandy table. I'm going to return column 2. I want an exact match, false, and I can do Control-R, Control-D to fill right and fill down, and you can see that I've moved my data from long to wide using one formula and some handy-dandy references. All right, we're on to question 13. Question 13, use conditional formatting to find duplicates. All right, here we're on question 13. We are actually skipping question 12 because that's a lot harder. I'm going to put it in a separate video. All right, we got question 13. I already forgot what it was. Use conditional form and define duplicates. Right. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to select what I want to check for. I want to check these duplicates. I'm going to go right here to Home, Conditional Formatting, Highlight Cell Rules, Duplicate Values. And you can see that all the duplicates are highlighted in pink. Super handy when you're looking for duplicates in your data. All right, question 14. What does A1 equals B1 do? A1 equals B1. I'm not using A1 equals B1 here just because A1 and B1 on this particular sheet are being used, but this is the same thing. You can see I have A32 equals B32. If you say equals, and this looks kind of funny because it's equals and then it equals, but this right here, all it does is checks if they are equal. If they are equal, it returns true, and if they're not equal, it returns false. So you can see here, this says false right now. If I were to put the same letter in there, it would be true. That's all it does. It's really handy if you want to check for if two things are the same or not, and you don't want to write an if statement. All right, question 15. Question 15 is actually just about forcing sheets to print on a certain page. So there's not a lot to look at here, but I did show a screenshot of what we're going to do. We are going to go up here to Page Layout, and then over here under Scale to Fit, you can see I have width and height. If we want to force this whole page to be on one page, then we would select one page wide, force it to be one page wide, force it to be one page tall. And you can see that we have done that. I can't see this on the screen share, but I'm going to show the print preview here. And you can see it's all being printed on one page. Or I could do Control P and you'll see what it looks like here. Everything's being forced onto one page. All right, you can see I put that screenshot here. Question 16. Question 16 is about, well, I'll just jump over to see. It's create a long table of data and force Excel to print it one page wide with repeated headers. So on this one, I'm not trying to get it one page by one page, just all on one page. All I'm trying to do is have it one page wide, but I do want to repeat these headers because this table is going to be really long. And if you notice, if I print it right now, sure, header 1 and header 2 are right there, but if I go down to the next page, there's no headers and it can look really confusing. So I'm going to choose this handy dandy function right here under Page Layout, Page Setup, Print Titles. You can repeat rows at the top. I'm going to click this to go into my sheet, choose row 4, which is our header row, and hit OK. And let's go and check out what happened here. All right, now we've got header 1 and header 2. And on our second page, yay, it worked. We've got header 1 and header 2 showing again so that people know what they're looking at. All right, question 17. What does equals rand do? Well, I already put rand right here for you, equals rand. It just gives you a number between 0 and 1. That's all it does. And the funny thing about how it works is if you do anything in your sheet, like hit A and then enter, it will refresh it. It'll keep giving you random stuff. Doesn't matter what I do. Every time I do something, it generates a random number. I can also hit F9 and it'll just refresh itself for you. That can be really handy when you want to do different modeling and you want a random number to put in there. All right, question 18, 19, and 20. I'm going to start with 18. Use countifs and sumifs. All right, well, to do countifs, I've generated some fake data. There's one row of data for January 1st to January 5th here for 3 students. And I gave them some attendance statuses. When would you use countifs? Well, let's say you wanted to count how many suspensions were there across all the days. You could do count ifs. Now countifs, the first thing that you do count ifs, you're just going to do the range and then the criteria. So I just want to do, in this particular case, I'm actually not doing too much here. I am choosing this range and I'm going to do OSS. I'm just going to see if it matches the words OSS, and I'm going to close it. You can see that there was 1. I could also add by student if I wanted to. In fact, let me just do that right now. That sounds more interesting. So how many suspensions instead did each student have? All right, that's a better question. So all I have to do here is I'm going to put my IDs. In fact, and to do that, I should copy my initial data. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to go to Data, Remove Duplicates, so that I know I got every single person in the list. Paste that here. I'm going to put my formula here. And now instead of just checking for out-of-school suspensions, I'm also going to check the student ID column. And I'm going to hit F4 because I don't want these to move as I copy down. And that column is going to check against the student ID. And that's going to move down as I copy my formula. So you can see here that it did properly count 1 out-of-school suspension for this one student and none for the other students. Here you can see that our fixed and relative references still worked. The fixed references stayed in place and this relative reference moved down as I copied the function down. All right, some ifs. How many behavior referrals were there? Let's say for each student again. All right. You know what? Let's change it up. Let's do for each day instead on this one. And again, I'm going to copy the days. You know, if this wasn't fake data, I wouldn't know exactly what days we had. I'm going to, again, remove the duplicates so that I get exactly the list of all the days. Let's cut this, paste it in here. And now I can do a sum ifs. First, I have to pick my sum range. I'm just going to always add up the behavior referrals, and I'm going to lock that so that it doesn't move as I copy my formula down. And then I'm going to pick my date range. And I'm going to compare it against that date. And of course, I could add other criteria as well. In this case, I'm only just doing 1. So you can see that January 1st, there was 1 here, 1 here, and 0 here. That gets 2. So you can, of course, check this, and it should work. Great. Question 19 is about creating a named range. So I can go ahead and do that in the same area. So if I wanted to create a named range for this whole set of data right here, all I'd have to do is right here where it says A12, instead I would say attendance data. Now you can't have any spaces, you can't start with a number. So, but that should work. If I wanted to refer back to that for some reason, I could just use attendance data. In fact, now that I mention it, I am going to I could have just done the statuses here. This will be handy, and I'll call it status. And on this one right here, instead of referring to this whole thing, I could just write status, and it'll know what I'm referring to. Fill it down, and named ranges are locked. They are fixed, so it will not move down as I move down my formulas. All right, question 20. Create a table of data, not a formal table, and create a named range from the selection. Well, I already have a fake set of data here. It's not a formal table. It's just organized like a table. And if I wanted to make a named range from each one of these columns, all I have to do is go up to Formula,